Welcome to the Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, and today we got quite a bit to talk about. As far as the news goes, not too much. There's a few things in the news that I want to cover, but to start things off, as people start coming in elsewhere, today I went to my first kickboxing class, and it really showed me I have a lot I need to learn as far as fighting goes. I wrestled, I boxed a little bit when I was younger, but I did wrestle. I did okay at that. But striking is a whole nother animal, especially kicking. So that was really cool. I think every man should learn how to fight, should learn how to protect themselves and their family. Everybody's big on knowing how to use their pew pew, but you should also know how to use your hands. It's a very important asset to have. So yeah, that was a lot of fun today. Gonna definitely keep doing that. So I definitely encourage every dude out there to do that. I think that this is it's a not necessarily kickboxing. Honestly, I wanted to do just boxing because I don't really care to kick, but the closest thing that I had to me was kickboxing. So that's what I did, kickboxing. Um, but obviously it incorporates some boxing, just kicking as well. Um, Learned how to do a flying kick today. That was interesting. At first I was like, oh shit, I can't do this. I did okay. But yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty cool. Um, yeah, but let's jump right into it. So it looks like in Mexico, this is hilarious, guys. Uh, Americans are fleeing to Mexico City. They're fleeing to Mexico City, guys. Americans are leaving America for Mexico. And the reason they're doing this is because of cheaper gas prices, cheaper cost of living. And they're just going to Mexico City. So what I think we're going to see is probably Mexico will end up paying for the wall, and it'll be something else Trump was right about. He just, didn't do it while he was in office. So, yeah, it looks like there was mass immigration to the U.S. for decades when the foreign-born population is set to hit 70 million by 2060. But now the reverse is happening. The reverse is happening now, guys, where Americans are going to Mexico. They're going to Mexico. So that's pretty interesting. It's pretty funny. We got somebody who wants to hop in here. Gonna let him in. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. What's going
Hello?
on? Yes, I can hear you. Yes, the U.S. is. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think. I might have to try again.
All right. All right. So he's going to try again. Yes, the U.S. is less free than Mexico now. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's really crazy, actually. So a little bit of what the L.A. Times had to say about this is right here. Some Mexicans aren't unhappy about the American inundation, like Sandra Hernandez, a real estate agent, who said all the recent deals she closed has involved Americans. They mostly want houses or apartments in the Art Deco style, she said, and are willing to pay the asking price. So yeah, they just want the American money. This is hilarious. In Mexico, you can buy motorcycles at the grocery store. That's interesting. I did not know that. Then we have somebody tweeting here. Mexico City is being flooded by Americans, including legions of remote workers drawn by cheaper rents. They're transforming classic neighborhoods, the housing market, and even racial dynamics. More and more locals are asking them to please go home. How the tables have turned. How the tables have turned. Like for years it was the other way around, but now the Americans are leaving America. That's pretty funny, right? Now we're gonna go over there. It's Glober Gentle. Yeah, it is. I totally agree with that. Now we're gonna go over there. We're gonna give them, a ton of money, inflate their economy, probably get kicked out. Actually, what I think is going to happen, is probably all the Americans going over there are going to be forcefully removed. That's what I think will eventually happen. I don't see them staying there for long. How much are the motorcycles at Mexico? Just how they did to us. Yeah, but they won't be there for long. I think the Americans will actually be kicked out of Mexico. I don't think that they're going to be there long. They can try, but I don't know. It's just not really a smart thing to do that, especially over a long period of time, especially given the economic collapse and societal collapse that a lot of countries are facing. In particular, Mexico, is controlled by a lot of the cartels. And that's just the way it goes. They are going to Brazil, Argentina, and several other global South countries. Yeah. Who? The Americans? Yeah, I don't think that's a smart move on the Americans' part. If every man learns how to fight, how am I going to win? You just get better at fighting. That's all. So, I need the motorcycle from Mexico grocery store. Go get it. Go down there, go to Mexico City, see if you can find one. Go from there. So, yeah. R.I.P. Joe Rogan. Yeah, I mean, we're taking – everybody's better than Joe Rogan at this point. I mean, I don't even know why people listen to Joe Rogan anymore. No, he did not. I mean, like, his podcast is dying. Nobody wants to listen to Joe the Toe Rogan anymore. Because he just spews nonsense. He's a gatekeeper. He's a propagandist now. The good old Joe Toe. That's what he be. But yeah, so I think that every American moving to another country like Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, I don't know that that's going to be the best place for you to live. Probably go to a European country, maybe Eastern European country. He's always been intellectually curious, intellectually lazy, which isn't a good combination. No, I think conservatives love Joe. Yeah, because conservatives are, not saying the liberals are any better, but Latino for Trump, there you go. Is this info about the Joe Rogan for real? No, it's not. So is Jimmy Dore. I don't know that Jimmy Dore is a gatekeeper. I don't watch him much, so I can't speak on that too much. But definitely Joe Rogan is a gatekeeper, provable, on camera. You see him trying to gatekeep and keep certain thoughts from entering the zeitgeist. He doesn't want certain things to be. I mean, how did he go from? I don't know if I can talk about it because I don't know what got us banned last time, but that rock out in the middle of nowhere that we didn't go to, he's the one that first started saying we didn't go to it. And now he's saying that we did go to it. I just need a plate of pasta. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know why. No, you're on your own, man. You're on your own. So I don't know why conservatives listen to Joe Rogan. I really don't. Everyone should learn how to fight. Women have no need to learn how to fight. If all the men learn how to fight and all the men are being men, the women don't need to learn how to fight. I mean, we should learn how to use weapons. I have nothing against that. Like, your wife, your girlfriend should know, or your daughters should know how to use your pew-pew if need be. I know how to fight. Cool. That's awesome. Good for you. Or like a batter. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some training in that for sure. Americans don't flee to Mexico. They go to exploit it. I don't know that exploiting is the right word, but they go there because it's cheaper than cheaper than California right now. Give me 1 second, guys. I got to open up my window a little bit. Get some natural lighting in here. I'm not a big fan of artificial lights. Speaking of artificial lights, there's an article that came out the other day that, or today rather, that scientists are talking about dimming the sun. They want to dim the sun because of climate change. That's exploitation is cheaper than any other state. Well, I don't know that that's exploitation, or that that's. I don't know that that's that. I mean, it could be for some. Do you think there'll be a revival, or are we witnessing one? Are you talking about like a Christian revival? Like a spiritual revival? What are you talking about? Creepy Bill Gates. People will make a serious Ice Age. Yeah. They can't do it, though. I don't know. Probably. I think that we're in the middle of something equivalent to that, but how it will turn out, I don't know. I don't know. Right? I mean, not that there hasn't, whether people know it or not, there's always a spiritual element in the world. And I think for a long time, it's just been geared towards the material and abused. I think everyone should learn how to fight. Should might street fights be more interesting? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those. I live in Texas. It's getting hotter every year. Right on. But then what about the winters? Weren't they talking about spraying the atmosphere? Yeah, they were. They were talking about that. But I don't know. I think it's mostly just fear narratives. Hi, I really need help with taxi fare to go to an interview tomorrow. That's okay. Go ask somebody if you can clean their house windows for like $20. Destructive, spoiled leftists need to see what happens to society going their direction. No. Americans in Mexico have passports because Mexico enforces its immigration laws. Yeah, and I don't think the Americans will be there very long. I think it'll be a short-lived thing, right? And then we also, let's not forget, you remember that Republican who's running for governor in New York? How he had that assassination attempt on him? Well, the New York Times, I guess, is coming out saying that it was a ploy. I agree. If you look at it, it's so pathetic. It's so pathetic, right? So like the guy's giving a speech, he's like, "Yeah, I'm a Republican. I'm gonna change New York from all this leftist crap." And some guy comes up, he has hay barrels next to him and everything too, and hay bales. And some guy comes up with like a kitty knuckle, like knife type thing where he has it like on his knuckles. And he's like, "You're finished." And he goes to like hit him, but it's so slow, right? It's like this. Literally, it's like this. And so because it's like this, the guy can block it, put him to the ground, and they're like, oh. And then the guy's like, "Hey, I bet you he's going to get bailed out the same night because of the cashless bailouts or whatever." Of course, he was out the same day. I think I agree with the New York Times for once. Why would I send you cash? If you feel that you're getting some value out of this. If you feel that you're getting entertainment, value, information, opinions, insight that you're not getting elsewhere, that's what you would give me your money for. But you don't have to. I'm not begging you. Don't even say it. I sort of scraped at all. It smells super bad. Yeah. No value here at all. Well, then guess what? You can get out of here. Boom. Wow, NY Times says something true. That's crazy. I know. What do you think of the new Forward Party being formed? Is that Andrew Yang's party? Yeah, I think that's just another. I think it's probably going to be assumed under the Democratic branch, and they're just going to, I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but I've been talking about how the two parties are evolving into something else or devolving into something else, right? Because you have a rift within the Republican Party, you have a rift within the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is going to become increasingly progressive, while the Republican Party is going to become increasingly nationalistic. And it's just both a ploy, right? Because it's just going to keep us going forward down this degeneracy. I was getting my credit card out to donate until you balked at climate change. Okay, that's cool. I don't want your money anyway. I don't need it. Every man should learn to listen and accept that you don't need to understand to accept. Okay? The Forward Party is being formed from both former Democrats and Republicans. Oh, I have heard nothing about it then. Yeah, so it's obviously going to be nonsense. I thought that was Andrew Yang's party or something, but I guess not. Then I know nothing about it. Climate change happens for more reasons than the human factor. Earth cycles naturally. I know. I've been saying that forever. Climate change is real. Going by stats seems like women should learn how to fight, not men. That's insane. That's insane. Every man should go to mandatory therapy. That's insane too. I like Yang up until the point he said Assange should be in prison and endorsed Biden. Yeah, Yang was always not good. He was never good. Every woman should learn how to fight. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's not the realm of women. Did you know? Okay, whatever. Every man should know how to fight. Agreed. It's insane that women should be able to defend themselves. Weird vibes. No, they should just have men that know how to defend themselves. And the more men that know how to fight, the less likely there's going to be altercations. Because, I wrestled, I boxed a little bit, and so I'm competent in fighting. And most of the people that I know that are competent in fighting don't go around looking for fights. If anything, they're the ones that are like, yo, I want no trouble, because they know how it can go down. So I think that better trained men would be better for society. Add an honor culture back in society as well. I have no issue with like women learning how to use pew-pews just in case like they need to use it someday. But as far as fighting, I mean, they're always going to lose against a man anyway. It does them no good. And who are the people assaulting women? Men. And there's nothing that they can do even if they learn how to train. They'll still lose. Females should know how to fight. It does them no good. It does them no good. Did you study the blade too? Yeah, for sure I did. I know how to wield nunchucks. I know how to throw ninja stars. I'm very proficient in all forms of combat. Men are inherently violent. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Men do have a tendency towards violence. And that's a good thing. Ayo, there's the neckbeard energy. Yep. Man who got gas throwing a 1-2. Yep. Okay. Women are all different. Some stronger than men. Yeah, no, that's where? It's nowhere. Maybe like 1 out of a billion. And it'll probably be like a weak, scrawny dude. Everyone should be able to fight. No, I don't agree at all. Ladies and gents, we are now in a recession. Yeah, we know. Talk about important issues. Yeah, so I mean, we did at the beginning. Americans are going to Mexico, and Mexico is probably going to pay for a wall now. Are you serious? LOL, you need to get out more. I'm out every day, dog. I got a wife. I got 3 daughters. I get it. Take guns away from men will solve most crimes. Yeah, that does no good. What are you going to do with the illegal, criminals? What are you going to do with the illegal, possessions? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Who's going to Mexico? Americans, Californians. A majority of men are stronger than a majority of women. Like 99% of men. I'd say 99.999999999. Friendships, family any day. Well, your family must not be good. That's unfortunate. Oh, okay then. Let them. This is why you guys need a weapon. Women are like super not strong. Right. People are inherently born evil. They're not. I don't agree with that at all. Not Californians, all type of Americans. Specifically, it's Californians in this case, but yes, I'm sure all kinds of Americans are fleeing. Mexico remembers what happened last time. A bunch of, yeah, they do, and I think they're going to kick them out. Are you preparing for war? No, not. That's satire, man. I don't know what you're talking about. I will help them pack. There you go. You will own nothing and be happy 2030. Wrong. Change the agenda up. Have a big family and crush, and you will crush. You can make your own agenda 2030. What's going on, man?
Good morning, brother. Good afternoon, brother. How you doing? Can you tell me a little bit more about the overarching reason why people are fleeing to Mexico when we're making we have this horrifying push to keep them from coming here, and they would let us come there with no problems. How was that happening?
Well, I think that's a mischaracterization. First off,
I understand.
first off, the Americans that are fleeing there are following the Mexican immigration law. That's the only reason they're in. If they weren't, they'd be deported right away. So there's a big difference between, you know, those that are entering our border and those that are entering their borders. Anyway, I'm not justifying it, but the reason that they are going there is because of cheaper rent, cheaper gas prices, cheaper cost of living. Their money goes a lot further, so they're keeping their remote jobs and moving to Mexico City. And I think what's eventually going to happen is the Mexicans are going to kick them out.
You think that even if they've come legally and they start to own land and they're helping for their particular economy and their society to thrive, that Mexico is going to arbitrarily get pissed off one day and say, "Fuck out of here."
Yeah, I mean, it happens throughout history. Just study history. Every time a foreign group comes in, if they still have the control, the main nation, they'll kick them out over time. It happens every time.
Because when people they talk about how China owns so much of the United States, I'm like, dude, when China decides, if they ever decided that they wanted to cash in on, cash their chips in and say, well, we own this and we own that, immediately the United States would be like, listen, man, I'm sorry that you have the deed to that building, but get the fuck out of here. Get out of here and take your deed with you. As long as we owe you, you'll never go broke. Because if you try to control the United States based on you having land, we would turn on you, and that's just how we've always done. And so when people say, well, these people own this and they're buying the United States, well, you can have as much stake as far as realty in the United States as you want. We'll eventually just tell you no. Like, no, you're not going to run shit here. And, well, sorry, we just reneged on our deal, but you're done. And do you think that they'll do the same thing in Mexico once we saturate their society?
Well, I don't know that a bunch of Americans are going to be moving to Mexico, but those that do move there are not going to be looked upon very kindly by the locals. A lot of the locals are already saying that they want them to go, that they're starting to change their neighborhoods. They're starting to Americanize it, and so they want them to leave. And so I think, I think that it's not going to be very nice for the Americans that are moving there long term.
Okay. All right. And at what point do you think this is going to become like super problematic? Like when they start to integrate the language, when the language gets to 25%, people start using English 25% of their cities, or what do you think it'll just arbitrarily? Just give me something that you think.
Yeah. So I haven't thought about all of those aspects, but what I would say is that
yes, sir.
It would be, first off, we see all the countries that are going through societal upheavals right now. And if you're a foreigner in those lands, you're not looked upon very kindly. Nobody's reporting about that, but this is what happens when, civil wars take place. Anybody that's not a part of that country is definitely lumped in with the enemy. So, when we see that take place in Mexico, which we probably will, we already kind of have with the cartels taking over the governments and stuff. So I think we're just going to have to see how the economy plays out, how the societal issues play out. But America is going to be blamed for a lot of the hardships around the world, right? So all the if you travel the world right now, from what I hear from people who do travel the world still and are Americans are no longer looked upon as good people. A lot of people consider American terrorists now, even if they're not terrorists, right? So people are making wild claims about all of Americans because of our government. The same way Americans will make wild claims about Chinese people when it's really just their government. It's not the Chinese people, right? So same thing with Russians, right? Russian people are awesome, and then you can criticize their government if you want to, but we just see the Russian government and then we demonize everybody in that group. So a lot of people are starting to do that with Americans across the world. And so I don't think it's going to be very good for Americans to move outside of America in general.
I don't. We're not. I can imagine that we're welcome after our government is destabilized. We've taken governments out completely. We've taken over countries by proxy, right? And we've done it to such a degree that now, I don't know that we can put this fucking genie back in the bottle and make things right with everybody. I just don't think we can. Right? I think we've done too much, and we've been doing it for too long. And I don't know that this has hurt us and our citizens. So, yeah, you're right. Traveling abroad is no longer say, "Oh man, this is that cool American." No, with the whole Trumpism thing, I think that we really took a dump on ourselves with the Trumpism thing, and we
Right.
really alienated a lot of the world and turned them against us with the whole Trumpism. I really think so.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that even though I would say that Trump, I would disagree a little bit with the Trumpism. I think the Trumpism was needed to sort of bring back the American spirit, so that way people have pride in America. People were losing pride in America, whether you like Trump or not. He at least revitalized that patriotic spirit that had died a long time ago. So that is a good thing he did, objectively. Because you got to have pride for your nation. If you don't have pride for your nation, then who's going to defend your nation? Who wants to uphold your nation?
Marine, man. And I saw him as a United States Marine. I had all the pride in my nation, right? And I didn't start to question my nation until my nation decided they wanted to side with one man against like the rest of its citizenry. Right, I'd never seen anybody who had that effect on us. And if there was something that coincided with patriotism, I would never say it was Trumpism. Trumpism does not coincide with patriotism, right? And all of us Marines, right? And I know the vast majority, white, black, whatever, even my Marines that were Republicans, right? They were like, dude, this is not helpful, right? These people are not patriots. This is not the American spirit, right? This is not what we signed up for, and we will not defend this shit. And that was terrible, man. He was the worst possible imaginable thing.
Yeah, well, he's a very divisive character, and that's beautiful for marketing. And it's a beautiful marketing scheme. I tend to disagree. I think that Trump was a G. I think that Trump did a lot of things right. There was a lot of things he did wrong. I didn't vote for him in 2020.
He did, yeah.
I didn't vote for him in 2020 simply because of his take on the pandemic and his take on the, how he helped everything get locked down, how we implemented Operation Warp Speed. So there was a lot of things that
that worked well. That worked well. You were right. That was one thing that he did that he started. Well, I guess.
No, I'm not for it. I'm against it. That's why I didn't vote for him. Is because he did those things.
Really?
Yeah, because he started going with the nonsense. So I said, yeah, I can't vote for a man who's going with the nonsense. That's stuff that's now coming out and showing that there was no proof that it even worked. So we can't give too much into that conversation, though, because YouTube will kick us off. TikTok will kick us off. But, yeah, so that was the main reason I did not vote for him. But I loved his rhetoric. I thought he had very good rhetoric. He's a good speaker. He was the man that we needed, I believe.
He absolutely could speak.
So,
He could speak. That man, he really absolutely could speak, right? And I backed him for a long time, right? I backed him for a long time until there were a couple of things that I saw that were objectively bad for the American people, right? Whether you believe that there was an actual disease or whether you didn't believe there was an actual disease, the one thing that we should all think about and we should all probably espouse is that I will do, especially if you're a service member, Mr. Jorgensen, the one thing you should always think is I am going to do whatever is in my power to help every single American. I don't care if I don't speak for you, right? I speak for a lot of other Marines, right? And I probably speak for a lot of the real Marines. And I don't care what you think, Mr. Jorgensen, at all, right? I did my time proudly, and I love my country. And anything that hurts my country is outside of the realm of what we should be doing as a nation who wants to sustain itself or cares about its citizenry. And that's yeah, I did. I noticed his words are dangerous, and that's. I even as a person who supported him, right, and I voted for him. I did. I voted for Donald Trump in 2016, and then as I listened to him, right, as I listened to what he was saying, and I said, "You got to be shitting me! Like, why are you saying these things, man? This doesn't bring our nation together. This doesn't do anything to help us. It doesn't do anything to promote sovereignty and togetherness and the things that are required, because money doesn't help your nation in the long run. Money is fine. A flourishing economy is great. But if you have a social chasm between these people and these people, that's the only way you can bring a country as powerful as the United States down, and that's from the inside.
Yeah, I don't think it was Trump. I think it was the media that was misrepresenting his words numerous times. You could find evidence now, probably not now because they're cleaning everything off the internet, but where he didn't say what they claimed he said, or they intentionally took things out of context and then played a certain clip that would make him sound bad, as opposed to playing the entire thing, which would make a lot more sense. This happened numerous times. So it wasn't him. It was how they portrayed him to be, and people became brainwashed because people are easily manipulated. And I'm not trying to defend Trump as if he was the savior. I don't.
Sure.
But I do think he was the best president we've had in a long time. And better than Barack, better than Biden, better than the Bushes, better than Clinton. Yeah, I mean, at least he called out the media for what they are. At least he called out a lot of the liars. So that was cool. That was cool to see somebody talking about that. And I think that he failed in a lot of regards, though. You know, he could have done a lot more with his social media platform. He could have did a lot. I mean, it's insane to me that you have billions of dollars and you can't create a social media platform that's going to allow the kind of speech that you want to have, because Truth Social doesn't allow that. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to criticize Trump about, you know, but I think overall he was a decent president. But, hey, man, I got a couple other people that want to jump in here.
Hey, you go ahead, brother. Hey, you have a good day, man, and I'll catch you next time.
All right, sounds good, bro. Take care. All right, so we're just going to go in this order. Only one guest at a time, or else things get hectic. Hey, how's it going?
Hey man, how's it going?
It's going all right.
I'm actually fine. So, let's see. Here's the thing. Americans, not just Mexico, but like just overall, like Americans going to other countries actually have now like a very stigmatized perception by other people. Not because of Americans, but because of the behavior that they portray, which is mostly just loud behavior. And even if you're not one of those people, like if you just happen to be like somebody who's like, I don't know, like grounded, centered, you know, like you got your head on your shoulders, they still see you as somebody who's gonna, you know, rile things up unnecessarily and be the center of attention. And most of it has actually been like, it's been a behavior, it's a pattern of behavior that has been going on for a long time. But ever since the Trump presidency, it just blew out of proportion. Like things were just more escalated. Part of the reason being is that Trump's words were effectively if you can say, like a megaphone for people to be given permission to act out the way they wanted to. I said, like, they wanted to be who they wanted to be. Like, they wanted to be like this like loud, proud American in order to display patriotism in a very misguided idea. And so, like, be a fan of this country and not a patriot of this country, which is completely different. Being a patriot of this country, being a patriot, just a patriot in and of itself is completely different than being a fan. You can be a fan in sports. You can be devoted and dedicated to sports team, but when it comes to being a patriot, it's entirely different. You're talking about actually like seeing somebody within your country, doesn't matter whether it's like in the same city, same state, like, or in a different state or a different city, like you see them the exact same way, regardless of who they are, because they're Americans just like you. And yet, we cannot do that anymore. In fact, like, it was even more divisive during the Trump presidency, because he even like advocated for something of like as a vision. He didn't say it out loud, but he was definitely like pushing for it. I said, like, no, like, we are the Americans over here. Like, you guys are different. Like, you're not the ones that actually represent our country. You're not like patriotic enough. And we were all confused, saying like, wait, hold on, what do you mean we're not being patriotic enough? Like, we do our duties as citizens. Like, we pay our taxes, we go vote, we go into jury duty like we're supposed to do. Like, we obey the law. So like, wait, how are we not being patriotic? And it turns out, like, apparently that wasn't the standard for patriotism. It was something else. And the more I saw it, it just looked like fanatism. Now, say what you will about Trump. Yes, I understand that he did some good things, but it was at the expense of what those things were done that I cannot concede that he was a good president at all. Like, sacrificing morality, ethics, and most importantly, people's lives for the sake of just having good ratings on TV for what, I don't know what reason as a president you would be concerned about such a thing. Like, it just didn't seem right. And maybe he had a good plan initially when it came down to the handling the pandemic, and it all seemed good and well until we heard that part of the reason why he didn't want to have like the pandemic handled was sort of like big cities in that had like blues, they were like prone to being democratic, like vote left. He wanted them to have as much COVID as possible so people wouldn't vote. I was like, hold on, what? Like, how do you expect me to believe that a man like that is a good example of what first of all, of what a leader should be, second of all, what a patriot of this country should be, and lastly, I don't know, not to say at least, like, as a citizen of the United States, like, how do you expect me to believe that guy is a good example? Like, how do you expect anyone to believe that he's a good example?
Yeah, so real quick, so I know me and the other guest got on the topic of Trump, and that was because of America by and large, and it just devolved into that. But yeah, those are none of the topics on here. So let's try to keep it on topic. Do you have any topic that you want to talk about?
So Americans are fleeing to Mexico. I've seen that. Definitely seen that. A lot. I have family in Mexico, so I go and visit them, and I see a lot of Americans, and it's a constant. I don't know how long they stay though, but it's not uncommon to see Americans in Mexico.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think that they're going to be there for long, though. I don't think that they can have a permanent residency there for long. That's eventually what we see throughout history is the foreigner to a land gets booted. And so that's what's going to happen to the Americans in Mexico over time. And if they don't, then the Americans in Mexico will take over Mexico. That's just how it goes. One of the cultures has to win. Yeah, that's how it goes over time.
I don't think that
you have to give up a culture in order to have another culture. That's just the way history works. We did it with the Native Americans. We did it with the Mexicans in Texas. And now it's happening to the reverse to Americans with multiculturalism taking over the actual American ethos all over the place. So,
which is what?
Which the American ethos is.
What's the American ethos?
Yeah, so it's pioneerism, it's farming, it's self-determination, and we have a healthy dose of individualism with a healthy dose of collectivism, family-oriented. We weren't about big cities, but now we're about big cities, and now you go to different cities and you see microcosms of other nations in those cities. And so all I'm getting at is over time, you eventually have to choose what culture you're going to be a part of. You can't, it's like trying to serve two masters, and you can't do that. So multiple cultures can exist, and they can exist relatively close to each other. But it then begins to become something new once you integrate them. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but you have to understand that you're giving up something, right? There's a sacrifice from either culture once you start bringing them together. And that's okay if that's what you want to do, right? We have this with religion all the time, right? So there's a lot of Christians who take from other religious beliefs, but then they have to do away with some of their Christian beliefs to accept some of their other beliefs. So that's just what happens with, just like a sports team, right? I think another way that you can look at it is a sports team. The Los Angeles Lakers, do they become the Los Angeles Lakers if they integrate everybody from the New York Knicks, and they are now trying to decide, are they going to be the New York Knicks or the LA Lakers, or are they going to move to New York? Or are they going to stay in LA? Or are they going to find middle ground somewhere? So it becomes a different team eventually over time. And so that's the same thing what happens with cultures over time. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's the reason why I think that Americans won't be in Mexico for very long, or you're going to have the Mexican culture slowly chipped away at over time if you allow mass amounts. And so that's all. And I think that everybody has the right to participate in whatever culture they want to participate. If you want to integrate cultures, that's your free will to do so. But you are sacrificing one for the other, or vice versa. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So that's the main reason why I don't think Mexicans will want Americans in their country for much longer, especially the way Americans are treated across the world right now because of our government. Our government has supported so many terrorist organizations, right? And now we're looked upon as terrorists. So I think a lot of other countries aren't going to be very kind to Americans. They already aren't, from the people that I know that have traveled abroad, right? They don't really care.
Hold on. No, hold on. Just because Americans are loud and stuff like yes, we are loud. We are very, expressive and extravagant and highly extroverted. But especially when it comes to the topic of Mexico, they're not putting anybody out. In fact, they don't treat you the way, they don't even treat you remotely closest to what people think. They might see you somebody annoying and obnoxious, but they don't see you as a hostile person. They don't see you as some kind of terrorist or would-be terrorist. They don't see you as
I'm just saying, you wait a couple years. You wait a couple years. That's all. Right now, it's innocuous. Right now, it's fine. But once more societies begin to crumble, as we're seeing all over the European nations, once you start seeing that trickling over to North America, then you'll see what I'm talking about. That's if the Americans still live there.
We're not on end times. Where is this coming from?
No, I don't. Yeah, so we definitely are on a decline. The Western civilization is in decline, and that's fine. It's just cyclical. It doesn't mean that there's going to be this great. Everybody got this misconception about a declining empire, that it's going to be apocalyptic, that you need to go bunker out, nukes, all this stuff. No, we're just losing our power in the world. And the East is rising up, assuming the authority that they had over the world for much longer than the West, right? The West has controlled the world for about 500 years, maybe. But Asia, China particularly, has had most of the control of the world for quite some time, for much longer. And so the powers are just shifting. And so the dynamics and everything are going to be shifting as well. And when you have demographic shifts in different countries, you're going to see a huge shift in culture. You're going to see a huge shift in belief systems, a huge shift in how things are run. And it is a sign of a declining empire, one of the many signs of a declining empire, because the West, the United States, is at the head of an empire, which is why a lot of people don't like it, because we did neo-colonialism across the world. We exploited a lot of governments. We created shadow governments across the world, right? I mean, the CIA was created for that purpose. And just because the American people are fine and good, a lot of the people categorize the American government alongside, or they put the American people in the same category as the American government. So the same way that people see the Chinese government, they're like, oh, they're all communist. And they're going to lump that with a lot of Chinese people, which is wrong. It's not good to do. And as I stated this earlier, and that's exactly what's happening with Americans traveling abroad. I mean, you see videos of this right now where people are not serving Americans and they're calling them terrorists. There's videos circling the internet right now all over the place.
Where? What sites?
Yeah, so I saw a couple on Twitter. It was in the Middle East where they wouldn't serve Americans. I don't remember the exact country, but they said that we won't serve you. You're a terrorist. And the same has been true for Russians as well in European countries, right? Certain, I think it was in France where Russians who were just Russian citizens traveling, they were refused service because they're Russian. So America is going to get a lot more of that treatment abroad. Americans are. Especially as Russia and China assume power.
But we can change.
No, it's too late. It's too late. You're in a declining empire, my man. There's so many things that would need to happen. It's too late. So the best thing Americans can do is stay in America and, blossom where you're planted, start localizing your supply chains, building up good local communities, definitely start a family, definitely, pray to God. And work on the future. Work on what are things that are going to be needed in the future, because these global supply chains are collapsing. So start making your own supply chains. Become anti-fragile.
The supply chains, like they're somehow going to be like off the eyes of the government, because like the government has a long history of trying to cut off supply chains for people who want to just like localize themselves within the country.
No, there's going to be no lockdown of supply chains for those who want to localize themselves, because you can start your own moving company. You can start your own trucking company. There's nobody stopping you from doing that. So you can create your own supply chains. I'm currently doing it myself. I know many other people who are working on creating their own supply chains.
All right, so I'm assuming that like, this is accessible for everyone. Like,
yes.
You mean to tell me that people have funds for this?
Yes, 100%. You can go help out your local farmer. That localizes your food supply chain right there. You can support a local farmer's market. You can have your own chickens and your own vegetables and fruit trees in the backyard if you chose. You're localizing your food. That's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is have a valuable skill set in your community that can be monetized, and then start a business. You know how to do electrical work? Well, good, because now you are a valuable citizen in your community, and you've just localized your electrical work. Plumbing, same thing. Mechanical work, same thing. Cleaning, same thing. Babysitting, homeschool, daycare, etc. So there's many things that you can do. Moving companies, you have a truck, use your truck. Somebody has a little more money than other people that can afford a semi-truck to then haul other equipment, do that, right? So there's many different people in your society at different levels. Just do what you can do to help out your local community. Obviously, not everybody can afford to start a trucking company, but definitely somebody in your community can. So it's knowing your role and playing your role.
All right, man. Well, I gotta get going, but good talk.
All right. All right. Oh, I did not mean to bring both of you guys in. It showed that the guy on the bottom was out, so then I let the other guy in. But here we are. What's going on?
Okay, if I piggyback off that original conversation?
Let's try to stick to the topics. I mean, if we can revolve it around the topics, that was revolving around America getting kicked out of Mexico potentially, and I think that Americans won't be traveling abroad.
Yeah, I got that. And it's under that topic, and you guys started to talk about like multiculturalism and how cultures will always dominate over others.
Yes.
And that do you think that like multiculturalism is one of the reasons that America is like going down?
Yes.
Okay, so you would want like a culture to dominate over the other ones, the way America could be successful, right?
It already is. I mean, there's certain cultures dominating all over the cities. There's no coherent culture in America anymore. What does being an American mean? So America's lost its identity because of multiculturalism.
So, like, how would you go about making sure the culture that you want is dominant?
Yeah, so I would just say start local, build a family, have a family, and start making, the culture that you see fit around that. Your own, your morality revolved around, I would prefer Christianity because I would consider myself a Christian nationalist. But yeah, start a family and make it around God, have high morality. And be a strong man in your leadership. That's how I would start.
I guess that's one way, but of course, the people of other cultures are going to start their own families. And
That's cool. So then hang around people that are more like-minded than you. Start your family around more like-minded people. Everybody has the right to do that, and everybody would have a much better time if they were hanging around like-minded people. And it doesn't mean that they're in an echo chamber, right? Because just because you're like-minded doesn't mean you agree on everything. Doesn't mean that you pray to the same God, even. But it means that you share a lot of values, and that's going to bring a lot more cohesion to your community.
yeah, I definitely agree that people can hang around like-minded people, and that can build a community. But like the whole culture rhetoric is it's a little scary because it's quite reminiscent of when we're trying to. I mean, I'm assuming you would also try to keep other cultures like out of the country so you could maintain your own culture.
I have no power over that, so I'm just focusing on my family and where my family lives, and then I'll interact with my local government if need be. So I'm focused on my family. I'm focused on the local community. I have no effect on the national scale. None whatsoever. Neither do you. So just focus on your local communities. That's what I advocate.
Okay. The reason why I guess I focus on why this rhetoric is dangerous is because it's a very similar rhetoric to which the Nazis employed.
Yeah, I know. People
Jewish
are
culture
afraid of
was
ideas.
destroying their country.
Yeah.
And usually when people talk about these things, when these types of people get in power saying that like multiculturalism is bad or certain cultures are destroying our country, usually they end up like, not treating people of those cultures very well.
Yeah, I agree.
It usually expands much more than just like,
It can, but it doesn't have to. I'm not advocating for that. I would never advocate for that. The only time I would advocate for any act of, I won't even say the word, is in self-defense. Otherwise, I think war is a satanic tool. I think all humans have the divine spark of God, and I think all humans have the right to self-determine.
It starts out like that.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, if you're afraid of ideas, you're afraid of ideas. That's your prerogative.
I'm not afraid of creative ideas. It just escalates rather quickly.
It can. It can.
Genocide. Quite often, that's like what happens every time.
Yeah, I know. You can say that about many ideas. Many good ideas can devolve into bad ideas over time. 100%.
Yeah, but the idea that having multiple cultures in your society is bad is
It is. It's provably bad.
why?
Historically, it shows it's bad. Empires fall because of that. So,
How do you know that's the reason empires fall?
yes, it is one of the many reasons they fall. It's one of the main reasons they fall.
How do you know that?
History.
Well, yeah, but you're going to have to give an explanation for the history that you're reading because obviously we're reading two different ones.
The Roman Empire fell by and large because of that. The Ottoman Empire started to fall because of
But
that.
how do you
Genghis
how do you
Khan
know
started to
it was
fall
because
because of that. Because there's just too many. It's very simple. You don't even need to read a lot of history to understand this. I do recommend you do that, though, so that way you can have a broader perspective of it. But it's really simple. I mean, if you just do the math, like you add something into, so like let's say you have a glass of water and then you add flavor to the water. The water is no longer just water. You add flavor to the water. You add water coloring, you add food coloring, you add flavor to the water. It's no longer just the water. It's become something more than the water. You can say it's evolved or devolved, whatever, but it's no longer in its original form. And so you just extrapolate that out to multiculturalism, and it could have really bad effects. The same way that you're saying that the same way that you're saying that my language and my ideas can be dangerous is the same thing I'm talking about multiculturalism. It can too become dangerous, which is why I'm saying, okay, good ideas can devolve into bad ideas. So I can literally use the same argument against you, is that you're going to extract the original group of people. The Americans, when they came over, not the Americans, but the Europeans, when they came over to America, there were a bunch of Native Americans here. Some of them integrated with the Native American tribes. But what happened over time? The Americans won. We now are Americans, right? So that's what I mean. So over time, this happens cyclically in every civilization, every culture, all of these things. So you have a glass of water, you add something to the water, it's no longer just the water.
They became minorities.
That's my point. And so then then you can make the argument that they're bad at that point.
Can I get in a word? When we're talking about mixing water, sometimes we get things that are very beautiful from mixing water with other things.
Yep.
We get lemonade, we get different types of juices. Those can be better tasting than the original water.
Did you not listen to me? I literally said that you can say it's better. You can say it's worse. But it's no longer just the water.
Multiculturalism is bad. You're not saying that it can be good. You're saying it is bad.
Yeah, for it is bad. It's not good long scale. It's not. Because then you just start losing things.
You're not providing me with any evidence of that. You're just
I am. I gave you the Native Americans. There were some.
Other evidence was that we killed off the Native Americans, but there have been societies where we just didn't kill them off.
Yeah, and they became something else over time. I don't know why you're having a hard time understanding that. They become something else over time. They become something else over time. That's the whole point. Whether you consider it an evolution or a devolution, they're becoming something else over time.
Is becoming something a bad thing?
Not once again, you can call it progressive, you can call it regressive. It depends. A lot of times it's not good because if you're trying to preserve your culture, your history, well, if you're integrating, you're going to lose some of that. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with that if that's your choice. But just know on a large scale that then you start eroding nations. The nations start losing what they are, and then you become a new nation. That's the whole point. That's how you become a new nation, right? So if you want to be an American, cool, awesome. But then multiculturalism loses over time your identity of Americanhood, of being an American. So if that's what you want, that's what you want, right? But people have different opinions on this. And some people are like, yo, I want to keep this American. So how can I preserve the American culture? And they have the right to do that. Just like people have the right to, if you want to have a multicultural, diverse society, go ahead and do it. But there's going to be one society one culture that's going to reign supreme over the others because there's hierarchies, right? So that's just the way the world works.
Well, okay. Cultures evolve all the time, and I don't see anything morally good about preserving a culture. Cultures are not inherently good.
That's your belief. We disagree. We agree to disagree. Right on. So Colorado, what do you got to say, man? You've been quiet in there.
Wait.
No. I'm letting Colorado go. We agree to disagree. We can both say that. We can both say this.
We agree to disagree on a point you just brought in. You just made up a
No, I didn't. We've been talking about, is culturalism good? Is multiculturalism bad? That's what this whole thing's about.
No,
so
you brought up a new point called cultures are inherently good. That is an entirely new point.
I don't want to. Yeah, that's my opinion, and you don't agree with that. Fine, cool. I don't care. I don't care to debate that. I'm over it.
Okay, Colorado, what do you have to say?
Cool. So last time I checked, Americans are not throwing away their passports and identification paperwork to go into Mexico. So that's kind of like a weird topic. I don't know. We're not fleeing to Mexico. If anything, they're fleeing to America. And the corporation is incentivizing these fuckers to come across.
Watch your language. Hey. I'm going to have to kick you out of here if you refer to people like that in here, simply because we will get banned for hate speech.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's fine. It's not really hate speech, but I got it. And then
I agree with you. I just have to play with the algorithm. So go ahead. I said that we just have to watch her. We just have to watch it because the algorithm is very sensitive.
That's fine. And then family isn't wealth. Knowledge is wealth. And there's many. I mean, family is definitely an awesome thing. There's a lot of things you can get from having a family. So that's cool. I still think knowledge is more important than family because you can't really have a family without the knowledge. And that's what we're seeing is we have a lot of families that have no knowledge. And then you've got bored people in major cities with dense populations that have nothing better to do but complain. Everything's given to them. And then every man should learn how to fight. So that's an interesting one. I think learning how to fight is one thing. I can really fight, but I think identifying who you're fighting is important. We have a corporation that's in power acting as government. And what's happening is Trump went into office and wrote some executive orders and started shutting down the corporation operations, limiting their ability to operate as they normally would. Now, people need to prepare themselves for the news that's coming because Trump is probably still the president of the United States of America and not the corporation. So we have a corporation and then we have a republic. You were saying you can start a company. Well, why can't I start a company called United Snakes of America, right? And it looks like I'm the United Snakes, but in reality, I'm just a corporation. And then I can start doing things and really mess things up. And I can trick people into thinking that I'm government. And that's exactly what's going on is people think that the government that is supposedly in power is government when it's really a corporation. And it's called de facto. And the trick to learning how to beat this, which, you know, if you want to become a man, you have to correct your status because the United States citizen is the property of a corporation. So we're not supposed to vote. We need to elect. It's just simple things like that. So understanding the law and having rights is very important to learn how to fight because you have no claim to stand on. If you have no claim to stand on and you're a slave, how is the slave going to beat the slave master? That's never been done before.
Yeah,
you know. So
the Jamaicans got people out of there.
It has.
Yeah,
been done before. Actually,
it has
called
been
the Civil
done.
War.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can. Well, it wasn't really the slaves who did it, but yeah. Anyway. You were saying Colorado.
Slave revolts of
yes.
killing their slave master. That's just completely ahistorical.
No. Yeah. So we agree on that. Then. That yes, there were slave revolts in the Civil War. I was looking more towards the Caribbean islands where they definitively it was all slaves that won. There wasn't this big war about it. There was just slave revolts. Anyway, yeah, man. So you are right in that saying that America is run by a lot of corporations. I totally agree with that, which is why I say that America is more fascist than it is Marxist. It has like a Marxist culture, but it's more so fascist in its operation because the private sector is still alive, but it's in bed with the government. And that's like fascism. So, but as far as, you know, men needing to know how to fight and your idea of a citizen. Yeah, I get that. You can even make the argument that, you know, all birth certificates are out to the Vatican, right? There's that whole thing that you can go down if you wanted to. But what it really comes down to is that you are made in the image of God and your soul is God's. So your soul can't be tamed or can't be controlled by man if you choose it not to be, right? So you don't have to be a free sit. You don't need you can, if you want to, for legal reasons, for your body to be like all rights reserved on your driver's license. I'm a human being, not a person, right? If you want to start using these terms, you certainly can, and they can empower you, right? You can know that you have the right to travel regardless, right? You can know that a human being can't be bound by borders. You can know these things, right? And that's cool. But the point that I'm getting at here is about fighting is knowing how to defend your home, how to defend your family, more practical things, because most people aren't going to really care about the other stuff. And while it's good to talk about, it's good to have some informed people on that particular subject matter, the masses won't go for it. And that's okay because they're not supposed to. It's not for them. It's for a select group of people who choose to have that lifestyle, and they should know that. They should know their rights as a human being, and they should practice that so that way anybody else who wants to take that journey can take that journey. But more so, it's about the fighting and being able to defend your family, defend yourself. God forbid you're ever in an altercation. The man should know how to do that. And as far as knowledge being wealth, you can make that argument, but knowledge doesn't really do you well if you don't have family. So I would say that family is the ultimate form of wealth. because ideally your family should be your ultimate source of your ultimate form of your ultimate source of resources, whether it be knowledge, wisdom, experience, money, jobs, skills, etc. Your family is your true wealth, and that's what we've forgotten.
True. Having a family is very important to wealth building, especially like two parents. And there are a lot of kids that end up in the foster care system. And I think a very important part of like getting these kids families is, making sure that gay people are able to adopt and, more families for them.
So let's go back to the license. Here's a perfect example. When you play the game Monopoly, most people read the directions before they play, correct?
Yep.
Like any board game, right? So I have a problem with people not reading the directions to life. And if you look at 15 USC 1602 section L, a license is defined as a credit card. So we're all walking around with credit cards that have your all caps name, and the birth certificate actually is property of
the
Queen
Vatican.
Elizabeth.
It's the Vatican.
So what's going on is we have a de facto government, fictitious entity that's causing a lot of the problems that we're seeing when it comes to foster care, when it comes to benefits at the Social Security Administration. All these things are stemming from the same thing, and it's people not knowing the law. And legal isn't lawful, and lawful isn't legal. There's two big differences there. And with money, people also need to realize there's no money in circulation right now. You can't take a gold bar into a dealership and purchase a car with a gold bar. And gold under the Constitution is money, and it's what's supposed to be used for exchanging things. But right now we're trading with the enemy, and that's what a promissory note is. The only reason why a dollar bill has any value is because of the signature that's on it, which is Steve Mnuchin right now, if I'm not mistaken. So we're all technically in violation of the law if we look at the Constitution. So I think status is really important because most people are deemed as lost vessels at sea.
Yes, 100%.
And
this is going over so many people's heads, by the way, just so you know, but I'm 100% with you. A lot of people aren't deep in the rabbit hole, man. A lot of people aren't deep in the rabbit hole. I get it.
Yeah, and I just want people to start learning Uniform Commercial Code, United States Code, and really dial in what a corporation is doing. Because I hear, the election was stolen. It was rigged. Well, how is a corporation, if their operations are in a public corporation, how can you say it was stolen? They run the operation. It's their business. So even if it's not that it was stolen, they control it.
Because y'all are so deep inside the rabbit hole. 99% of the people in the comments have no idea what you're talking about.
I know that
it's not even a rabbit hole.
It is a rabbit hole. So let's get back on the let's get back on the topics here.
It's a good rabbit hole or a bad one. You are in a rabbit hole.
Yeah, we definitely are. We're definitely deep in the weeds, and you and I are probably the only two speaking the same language right now. So it does nobody any good. That's why I said when it comes to fighting, I'm talking about more practical. And if people want to learn more about what you're talking about, they definitely can. And I definitely encourage them to if they have the, inclination to do so. It's definitely a good thing to learn. But to keep things so simple, everything that he said, accurate. But to keep it very simple, your human spirit, your connection with God supersedes all that nonsense. That supersedes all of it. Just know that.
Unalienable rights.
Yes, exactly. It supersedes everything that he said. As a human being, the only way that these things have the power is if you give them the belief, if you believe in them. So
I don't think that's how it works.
It is 100%.
I don't think not believing in something makes you not subject to that thing's effects.
Yeah, it does actually. I mean, you can.
If I said I don't believe in people, that is not going to stop other people from interacting with me.
Well, let me ask you this. That's quite insane. Let's not keep going down this rabbit hole, though, guys. We got a couple other people that want to come in here. So, does anybody else have another topic they want to talk about?
The Agenda 2030 is interesting. I think they've made it well known what they want to do. There's just a lot of pushback, but it's pushback from assets that are controlled by the corporation. So, people say we want to fight the Agenda 2030, yet they have no claim to stand on. It's like what's going on in Canada with the truckers. They're protesting and they're fighting the best way that they can, non-violently, but they're
that group is led by Nazis, right?
What?
That group is led by Nazis.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab's, his dad was a part of the SS. A lot of the World Economic Forum, yeah, for sure. A lot of NASA as well.
No. I'm
Yeah,
not talking about the lead of the trucking protest.
But you do know that the World Economic Forum is led by them as well, too, right? Don't forget that. Klaus Schwab's, his father was a part of the SS. Fact. Look into it. They have deep roots. NATO, yeah. Fine. No. Listen, dude. Why is it that NATO is filled with them as well? Why is it that the World Economic Forum is filled with them as well? Why was NASA built by them as well? Look into Operation. What? No, this is my point. Hang on, guys. This is my point here. You're gonna sit and say Nazis over there, Nazis bad, but then what about the Nazis that are also in the NATO and World Economic Forum? What about the deep roots?
NATO are also bad. There you go.
Exactly. Cool. So that's my point. That's my point. So they're both. I know nobody here is for the truck. I told people.
Your point was that I'm not going to condemn Nazis everywhere.
Yeah. Cool. So awesome. So, but here's the thing. Nobody here is talking about truckers good for protesting. I actually told people not to protest. I told people it's a waste of time. Protests are mostly psyops, by the way. They're mostly what they want you to do. Like, they're useless. And now look at what's happening to the truckers who protested in Canada. They're being demonized as terrorists. Who called that? If you look at my stream, I predicted it way before it even happened. As soon as it happened, I said that they're going to be labeled terrorists and their funds are going to be frozen. You can look back. MOT Media on YouTube. I called it. I told people not to do that. It's bad. It's totally bad. It was totally a psyop.
Well, the reason why some of the things are happening on the elite level is because people are not competent enough to handle their own affairs. So if you're not competent enough to handle your own affairs, they will roll over you. That's no secret. And when people say it's a rabbit hole and this and that they're holding themselves back from being competent, lawfully and legally.
I was in the rabbit hole, and then I started to read.
There's nothing wrong about going down a rabbit hole.
Facebook and social media, and then I got out of it.
There's nothing wrong about going down a rabbit hole. You can learn a lot going down a rabbit hole. It's just good to come out of the rabbit hole. A rabbit hole is just a term used for something that has a bunch of information that you can spend your entire life on, because it just never ends.
Down far right conspiratorial rabbit holes.
And you can go down far left conspiratorial rabbit holes. There are many different tunnels you can go down. And that's your prerogative to do so. But there are rabbit holes, many rabbit holes.
Far left rabbit holes are socialism, and far right rabbit holes are the Jews are in Hollywood.
That isn't true. I mean, you have far leftists right now. That isn't true. You have far leftists right now who are talking about doing bad things to the people with small hats. I have to call them that. Don't call me whatever you want to. You can call me whatever you want to call me, but I have to.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the J words, we'll call them the J words because I will get flagged for that. My account is under active watch. So the J words are actually being attacked verbally by a lot of far leftists right now. And I think what we're going to see. So it's one of the girls in the squad. I can't remember her name, but she's a House of Representative. No, it isn't AOC. It's somebody else. I did a TikTok on it. I did a live on it. So it's on my YouTube somewhere. But yeah, she said that they should be with ropes because they're bad people. And they're,
ropes? You mean hanged?
Yes, I have to be careful about what I say on here because once again, I am under scrutiny by TikTok for my words. So,
Ilhan Omar, are you talking about?
No, it isn't Ilhan Omar. It's somebody else.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. But yeah, it was out there. The right wing sites were promoting it because, of course, they're very pro J word, right? Because of Israel.
That's so funny, dude. That is the most funny thing I've ever heard in my life. That right wing people are pro J word.
They are. I mean, have you not seen the conservatives love with Israel? The conservatives want to love Israel. The Republicans love Israel. Right wing Christians that are like mainstream right wing Christians love Israel. They do. It's a fact.
Loving Israel isn't the same thing as loving.
But they do. People. They do, though. Like a lot of them do. A lot of them are. I mean, Dan Prager. Dan Prager. He's PragerU is made by a bunch of J words. Ben Shapiro is a J word. J word. Okay, so Ben Shapiro, J word. Dan Prager, or whatever the hell his name is, J word. Donald Trump got a lot of support from them. A lot of people on the right. There is.
Wait. You know that J words are mostly Democrat, right?
Yes, I do know that. And I'm just telling you that as far as there are a group, there's the mainstream right, which you obviously are not aware of, and that's totally cool. But there is the mainstream right who, they're the ones that started Judeo-Christian, right? They're the ones that started lumping the two together. It was the right wing, not the left wing. But yes, most J words are left wing for sure. You're 100% right. And there are extreme left wingers now.
Probably because the right wing led to them being like Holocausted.
Yeah, there's a lot of debates about that. I mean, we don't really know exactly what happened. But anyway, man.
Known. What do you mean debates about that?
Yeah, so I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole for this as well. We're not going to spend a bunch of time on this, but we have another guest that wants to come in. Thanks for coming up, man.
Sure.
All right. Hey, can you hear me? Nope. All right. I don't know who was in here first. I'm going to give it a couple seconds, see if he will come back in. But in the meantime, let me see if I can find that article. Democrat. Let's see. Your guest was not well informed, not totally indoctrinated. Let's see. All right. I can't find the article. But, all right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, I got some stuff I have to do, so I can't be on here much longer. But, yeah, good live. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Subscribe to everything MOT Media. And, tomorrow we will be doing MOT today. It'll be me and Mick, and that will be at like 11 o'clock. And then you will have Sunday MOT Sports, and that's at 4:20. And then there may be something coming out at Saturday, but as of right now, that's it. No, guys, you can come on tomorrow. Come on earlier tomorrow. I'll probably do a stream around 11 or 1. So, all right, guys, much love. If he wants to come tomorrow, that's totally fine. We're just going on an hour and a half. I can't spend my whole day on here. I can't be doing 2-hour streams anymore. I got a lot of stuff to do outside of this, but if he wants to come tomorrow, totally cool. I promise him, if you guys are, really thinking that I'm afraid, whatever. 1 o'clock tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jaden can come on. I'm here today. Be here tomorrow if you really want to hop on, man. All right. Much love. Peace.